In an escalating battle with Harvard, the Trump administration is halting the university's ability to enroll foreign students. Not just that, current students would need to transfer to other colleges or risk losing their status. Trump's latest move puts roughly 800 Indian students currently enrolled in the university at risk, with no clarity on the impact on long-term doctoral or PhD programs, adding yet another element of uncertainty for international students after the administration abruptly went ahead and made several decisions against Harvard, like withdrawing funding from Harvard as well. Now the Harvard University has sued the Trump administration for the second time in less than 24 hours, calling the move perilous for international students. Let's take a closer look at this story. Now we're joined by Harvard University Professor William Kirby. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. But before we actually come to you, let's listen into some of the voices from the Trump administration on this ongoing face-off with Harvard University.
This program has been in place for a very long time. These policies have been in place for a long time, and Harvard brought these consequences upon themselves. They have promoted and allowed violent activity on campus. They have allowed anti-Semitism, participation with CCP and Chinese infiltration and influence on their campus, and they haven't protected their students. So we have given them multiple opportunities to share criminal activity with us, backgrounds on these students, to let us conduct the oversight into this program that is our responsibility, and they have refused to do so. So today I sent them a letter that said they will no longer be allowed to participate in this student exchange visitor program.
President Trump has spoken to quite often that we have an interest as a nation for these universities that are supposed to be the gold standard to actually deliver people who are educated and can function in society and on campuses that encourage a learning environment as opposed to one of left-wing activism, where you have individuals leaving the university level in this country.
Let's get more on this with Harvard University Professor William Kirby. William Kirby, thank you very much indeed for joining us here on Washington Watch. Professor Kirby, it's certainly gotten a whole lot worse for Harvard. How worried should foreign students be about the Trump administration saying that current international students at Harvard could potentially lose their status?
Well, we are doing everything possible and immediately to ensure that that does not happen. We believe, as President Garber said in his letter to the community today and in the lawsuit, that this is an unlawful act on the part of the American administration. And I see it as a remarkable and dangerous weaponization of every aspect of government, Homeland Security, Department of Education, in order to promote a political agenda to decide what is taught at universities, who can be taught at universities, and indeed, at the end of the day, who can teach at universities. It is a very, very dangerous moment for American higher education, and yet it is one in which I think the values of American higher education will, at the end of the day, be upheld, and I'm extremely proud of Harvard and its commitment to standing by its values.
Professor Kirby, what happens, we spoke about students who are currently in Harvard, but what happens to the hundreds of students perhaps who've been accepted into Harvard and might be soon making their way across the world to come to the university? What should they do? What is the advice you're giving them at this point in time?
The advice we're giving them at this point in time is to assume that they will be able to come. We believe that the merits of our case are very, very strong. And, if there were, many of our schools have already talked before this recent edict by the Trump administration of those students who could not come, of deferring them for a period of time, but certainly not canceling their admission. Universities are the strongest universities in the world, and Harvard happily is among them, are strong because they are international, because they are open to talent from all over the world. Any university today that is not open, for example, to the extraordinary talent of students from India will be hurting itself and will be diminishing its own role in higher education. And so, we have this remarkable attempt on the one
Harvard
industry.
has sued. Sorry, just running short of time here. Harvard has
Sure.
sued. Do we know when we might potentially expect some kind of stay from the courts that might get some clarity for students, current students, and future students as well?
I think we can expect Harvard to request a very quick judgment and injunction on this matter. The other matters regarding funding cuts and so on, that will be heard early in the summer in court. That date has already been set, but I expect that there will be an earlier date on this. The reason why to take this so seriously. Go ahead. I said the reason to take this so seriously.
Time for one last question here. At the heart of this latest row, Professor Kirby, is the demand for Harvard to provide details of foreign students who took part in that Gaza protests and maybe other things that they've been pulled up for. When will Harvard fulfill this demand of the Trump administration and hand that over and perhaps help this standoff subside a bit?
Harvard has handed over extraordinary amounts of information to Homeland Security and other parts of the administration on the nature of our student population. There are aspects of that are guarded by privacy laws in the United States that we are not allowed to share, and there is no evidence that we have of criminal activity on the part of those who protested openly in a country in which there is still, and I say it optimistically, freedom of speech.
Just to be clear before we let you go here, Professor Kirby, you're not going to hand that information over?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the university has handed over an enormous amount of information, but the amount that the government has requested within 72 hours is ludicrous. It's a pretext for a political attack. That's all it is.
Professor Kirby from Harvard University, thank you very much for your time. And with that, we need to wrap it here on Washington Watch for all the latest news, including the latest developments of that shooting here outside the Jewish Museum in D.C. Stay tuned to NDTV. I'm Allister.